Hello, everyone, and welcome to Bravo Tea with the Stay-at-Home Mom. I'm Erica, and I'm ready to talk all things Bravo.
Welcome back, everybody. And on this episode, we're going to be recapping the Real Housewives of Orange County. And I just have to say, I made a little post today because last night on the episode, Tamra was wearing a shirt that said Tamra and Alexis. And I had to pause it for a minute and take a picture of it. And I'm like, what on earth is that t-shirt? Are they like collabing for some weird brand that we're now going to be sucked into buying or something? And maybe on the back it'd be like Jesus Chugs gives hugs or something with Tamra. And I made a little post about it today. And Tamra, none other, posted underneath of it and put, "It was a joke gift Alexis gave me, but they cut it out. You'd have to read the back." So this is what I don't understand. First of all, I just have to say, I love that like Tamra is following me on my Instagram account and keeping tabs on me and commenting on my things. And it's like, Tamra, if you're out there, come on the pod. That's what I wrote under it. I said, I'd love to have you come on the podcast and tell us what the back of the t-shirt said. But that's what is going to bring me to say, I hate when Bravo does that. Leave the clip in of whatever the back of the t-shirt says. Because if you guys were watching last night and you're like me, you're nosy and you're just always noticing things. Like sometimes I don't even listen to what they're saying and I have to rewind it because I'm so distracted by something like that. I did have to rewind that scene because I was like, I don't even know what she was saying. I was distracted by the t-shirt. And just leave it in there. What's one more minute of the show or 10 seconds, none other than it probably showed to the back. I would love to know what the back said and if it's a joke. And I feel like Alexis, just has to be friends with Tamra, so she had to make her a t-shirt that was like a joke now for them, because last night after the episode, there was no Watch What Happens Live. There was like an OC thing. It was kind of weird. It was like Katie narrating it, and she's like, I'm new in this group, and look at all the dynamics of the ladies and stuff. And they were actually explaining how Tamra and Alexis were never close back in the day when she was on the show, because Alexis was on before Shannon was. So she was around Tamra and Heather back then. And I feel like they both didn't like her. And now they're like, oh, we're friends with Alexis, so you can't get mad at us, Shannon, that she's around. But I don't know. It's just weird. It's like, yeah, you were around her, but that doesn't mean you were friends with her. You actually kind of despised her, as did all of we, honestly, back then. And we still do now, in my opinion. But we have the ladies all waking up in La Quinta and Big Bear. And the Big Bear house looks like a fraternity party. They were like licking each other's toes with that apple pie the night before, trying to get Jen all squared away on OnlyFans. I mean, she should do it. Honestly, you could go on OnlyFans. No one even has to know. Like Denise Richards, it's her because it's like you could buy her face and her hoo-ha for $10. But Jen could do her feet pics, and everyone's making all this money off of just feet pics, and there's no face. There's no identification. So go ahead, girl. Go do it. Do OnlyFans so you could pay that rent, and you don't have to rely on Ryan, and you don't have to drive around his BMW X7, and you could afford those Rolex watches so Emily can stop yelling at you. But Tamra walked into Jen and Alexis's room, and she's like, oh, you chatty Cathys. I guess you were up all night talking. AKA Alexis was probably up all night talking about Johnny J.
Shut up. Shut up.
Jen was like, yeah, we didn't get any sleep. And it's like, that would have been the last room I would have wanted to share. First of all, I do just have to say, I know they were in somebody's house. It's not like they were at a hotel. So there's only so many bedrooms that Tamra has. But I'm a grown adult. I really don't want to share a room with someone, especially Alexis, if she's going to fucking talk all night. I mean, Jen has 5 kids. You think she wants to go away and hear you yap all night? She probably wants peace and tranquility and quiet. Like, the last thing Alexis gives anyone is quiet on this trip. And I'm sure she talked about John Jansen. It's like, I would like to see Alexis talk about her divorce with Jim Bellino, even though she's probably terrified and will get a cease and desist, just like Tamra and Shannon did back then. I would like her to talk about her children, which I'm sure she could because they used to be on the show. So we know she has kids. I'm not saying they have to film, but talk about them. And literally what she's been up to the whole time since she's been on the show. Like, her and John have just been together. Maybe this fall will be like a year, I guess. So it's like, not like you've been with him since the show ended. Like, can you talk about anything about you? That's like what I'm starting to not really like her. It's like, we're not even getting you on the show. I feel like we're getting John Jansen on the show. Like, he's like the friend of housewife right now. It's like, I want to hear about you. Even though you're annoying, I would love to hear about her divorce, honestly. I'm sure she could say some things without getting in trouble, or things that are public knowledge, just refresh our memory and brain. Anything to not talk about John Jansen, honestly. But the ladies are now up making breakfast in the houses. I like when they do this. And then it's funny, everyone has the little gel like eye patches under their eyes. I told you I love to do those in the morning. I keep them in the refrigerator and just keep them on. They feel really nice. But Jen asked Alexis why she was drinking a Red Bull instead of coffee. And then she goes on a tangent and she's like, oh, I'm like premenopausal, and like sometimes I get my period and sometimes I don't. And then like I don't even like coffee anymore. So like I'm just kind of drinking Red Bull. And it's like, girl, you don't need anything. You don't need coffee, let alone a Red Bull. I think you need a melatonin, honestly, because she does not need to get more hyper. She's pretty hype. She does have a nice body though, because she had like not even a crop top. It was literally like almost under boob was going to pop out. So it was a very short crop top. But she has a nice body. So I'll give Jesus jugs that. But then Shannon is telling the girls in La Quinta how she just can't believe she is going through this with John Jansen, and that she spent money on him too, which I do believe. Like, if we're going to go tit for tat like he is right now, maybe Shannon should say, oh, well, I'd like all the money back that I spent on you or us or your children. So then she reveals to them that they did like a trip for John's daughter for her birthday, and it was like $10,000, and Shannon paid for it. So should she now be telling John she wants $10,000 plus interest plus her attorney fees to be like, act like a little brat? I mean, as she said, which I have said, so now it's extra proof, she never signed a promissory note, never signing anything saying this was like a temporary loan and she needs to pay him back, let alone with interest. She signed nothing. He just gave her money. Well, then you know what? It's considered a gift and no one really cares. Like I said, I had surgery in May. 2 years from now, if my husband and I are divorced, should his girlfriend be barking at me with his bank statement saying I have to give them the money back? It's like, no, he just bought it for me at the moment. And it's like, sorry that you're mad you bought me my facelift now, John Jansen, but too bad for you. And then Emily said, why don't you just make him an offer and do like mediation, like $30,000? And Shannon's like, because I don't want to. And I agree. I mean, she doesn't have to, so why even give him $1? I'd rather spend the money on my attorney to be like, no, I don't have to, and then like prove him wrong. But that's the part that sucks. Now she has to spend all this money, and him too, to have no resolution. It's almost like his attorney should look at him and say, well, this is just going to be considered a gift, so let's not even bother. But he's just annoying. And then I just really feel like Heather, Gina, and Emily are really having Shannon's back. She's getting vulnerable with them, letting her guard down. And I think it was good. I always said in Jersey, I'm not liking how they get divided, but I think it was good for them to have this one solo trip. Or I mean, not solo trip, like separate trips. And them like pair off, because since Shannon and Tamra had that heated discussion at the dinner the week before, I don't think it would have been productive. It would have just been like, blah, 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 like bloodshed. It wouldn't have been fun to watch. So at least we did get them in separate trips, having fun. And we got people getting vulnerable with the people they feel at the moment comfortable around. So I did like that. And then we panned to the other ladies getting some vulnerability in Big Bear as well. So then Tamara was like, I was just trying to stage the only fans photo shoot for Jen. And then she's getting into an emotional conversation, and Jen just is talking about her ex-husband and saying like when they were married, he didn't really spend time with the kids. So now that she's away, he's actually like, it's his turn to have them kind of like overnight and do their activities and stuff. When she said when they were married, I guess he kind of took for granted that she was there, but he didn't do the things with her. So it's kind of like she was like maybe at the soccer game and he just wasn't because she was there, like holding down the fort, taking care of the kids. And it's like, no, maybe you should come too. And she's like, I just wish I could like see him with them because he has me blocked, which is like kind of weird too. And then Tamara's like, oh, I think I can see it, but he'll probably have me blocked by tomorrow. And then she showed her the little video of the kids like at the soccer game, and then she got really emotional. And then she revealed, which is very interesting, that her ex-husband is dating her friend who was her friend, an interior decorator. That's weird. So he's going to maybe get mad that she left him for Ryan, because I'm pretty sure that's, the story. She did say last season she had an affair on the husband with Ryan, probably because the husband was ignoring her. Not that that's justifiable, but I think she felt very alone in her marriage, and then she's trapped with all these kids and had no, like, maybe adult to talk to, and then she found Ryan, and the rest is history. But that doesn't mean you should then go date her friend who is your interior decorator as well. So she said when she found that out, she put her window down and they were like in car line at the kids' school. And she's like, bah, 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 bah. She's like, and then I was like, remember, she's your friend. It's like, girl, I don't know who you're friends with, but none of my friends are dating my ex-boyfriends. And if they are, or ex-husbands for that matter, that's even worse. I'm not going to be their friend any longer. Sorry. Like if something happened to my husband and I tomorrow, I'm not looking at any of my friends' ex-boyfriends or ex-husbands. No. That's just weird. There's a lot of people out there, a lot of fish in the sea. It's very weird. But Tamra also just revealed that she really struggles not seeing and communicating with her other daughters. So Sophia is now 18, so she is allowed to be back on the show. So she's like integrated a little bit on, and she popped on Tamra's podcast, Two Teas in a Pod, because she had Snooki on Monday. So I was like, I love Jersey Shore and I love Snooki. So I had to listen to that one. And Sophia popped on. She's like, yeah, you're still cool with the young kids. So she just wanted to pop on and say hi. But she said that she saw Sydney, so that's the other daughter she doesn't talk to, at Sophia's graduation from high school, and thought they were on the up and up because they were actually talking. And then she would call her and text her after, and she would never answer. So I don't know if Sydney felt awkward and just kind of made like small talk with Tamra for the sake of being at the graduation party to have peace. And especially because her sister does have a relationship with Tamra. So she probably didn't want to ruin her graduation party over her stuff with Tamra. But it's believed that Sydney, as Tamra has said, she is under the impression that Tamra totally like ruined Simon's life. And she's kind of sticking by Simon's side. I really don't know why. Really more info at the root of the problem. She just totally doesn't want to talk to Tamra. I mean, I get maybe if you want to spend more time with Simon, the dad, but I do feel bad for Tamra because that has to be tough. And she said on one episode that's very resonating for people that go through similar situations like her, she said, it's worse than if your child is dead, because it's like they're not dead, they're there, but they might as well be dead because they don't want to talk to you. Not might as well be dead. I'm like messing up the wordage she used, but I get it. It's like the death of a child, but they're actually there to talk to you and they just don't want to. So it's almost worse because obviously if they were dead, they wouldn't even have the choice to talk to you, but that has to hurt. I'm not sure how old Sydney is. I don't remember how old everyone was. I know it's like Sophia, Sydney, and then there's a son. I don't remember his name. And I don't know if he doesn't want to film. I don't know if he does have a relationship with Tamra. No one's really on TV anymore. And back in the day, remember we used to get them when they were little, and Ryan was in the house being all crazy, driving Simon crazy, getting those tattoos. Remember he got that lip tattoo and oh my God, all that goofy shit. Honestly, compared to what some kids are doing now, Simon's probably like, oh, Ryan was just easy. But Emily and Gina go and play pickleball. And then they just start talking about the convo from the other night. And Emily thinks that Gina is up Heather's ass and wanted to drop Katie because she basically said so. Or like maybe Gina felt scared to side with Katie about this whole paparazzi fiasco. And then Gina said that Emily is up Tamra's ass and they like to see who can be the bigger asshole. And then Emily said, I'm 40 years old. You know that's just my personality and I just have been aggressive. But Gina is trying to say, like, no, you're like extra aggressive. Like her coming at Jen with the Rolex watches is a lot, but also they've been on the show for a little bit. So maybe Emily is just keeping in the back of her brain, I could be replaced at any given moment. I think her life would tread on without the show, but these ladies get used to being on the show and they like the show. And maybe she's like, nope, I got to keep my hand on that ladle, joint stirring the pot. Can't let Tamra have all the fun stirring the pot. And Gina just said, you're mad at me. She's mad at me. She's mad at me. Travis is mad at me. Everybody's mad at me with her accent. And then throws the pickleball paddle down, tries to escape. But then the sprinklers are on. And then like the yard workers, I feel like Gina was like trapped and she's like, I can't get out. And the sprinklers are on. And it's like, why can't you get out? Why can't you go in the house? Like, do they like shut down the pathway to the house while the sprinklers are on? Or I don't know if she just didn't want to sprint through the sprinklers and get wet and then go in the house, because she's also having heart palpitations the whole time these ladies are in the house. She's like, don't drop water on the floor at all because we're going to ruin her house. But then since the sprinklers had that trapped feeling, they then kind of hugged it out, and Heather and Shannon hear them kind of raising their voices in the background. And it's funny. They're like looking from the window and Heather's like, Shannon, what's going on? This is the little clip. It was funny.
What's going on? I don't know. I don't want to go out there though.
Shannon's like, what's going on? And Heather goes, I don't know. I don't want to go out there. And it's like, yeah, sometimes you don't. You want them to hug it out. And maybe the workers were probably like, no, sprinklers are on. You can't come out here. But then Alexis, so we pan back to the other ladies. So everyone's kind of packing up. So this was literally like less than a 24-hour trip, basically. But Alexis was talking to Katie while they're packing up about the Heather thing. And she's like, I'm old friends with Heather, but I really like you, and maybe you just guys need to move past all of this. And she's like, I'm just going to let you know, Heather doesn't take anything lightly. And when you had the golf event and you kind of laughed at her, she didn't like that. And then I was like, wait, Alexis, you weren't even at the golf event. So how do you even know that happened? Obviously, I guess Heather told her. And she's like, she doesn't get humor like us. And I really like you though, which that does have to be hard. It's like, I feel like Alexis is taking her friendship with Heather really dramatically, but she can like Katie. It's not like Katie murdered Heather's family. They just have agree to disagree about this whole paparazzi thing. And it's at the end of the day, who freaking cares, honestly? I think it's a little goofy. I guess Heather will take it to the grave though, that she did not call the paparazzi, which is okay, that's fine. It's really not that big of a scandal. I feel like they're trying to make it more of a scandal when we are entertained enough, honestly, with the Shannon, Alexis, and Johnny J, formerly known as John Jansen, love triangle, honestly. But then Jen is telling Tamra that she knows how she is, and when she cares about someone, she really attacks them. So she's referring to the whole Shannon tough love thing. And she really feels like that's what she's doing to Shannon. And Tamra truly doesn't think she's attacking Shannon, which I truly think is odd, unless they are leaving a lot out that we are not seeing, or when they're not filming a lot that we're not getting the whole picture of. But I do think when they're in person, she's attacking her just a bit. And she said she doesn't know how to help her, and she's just so frustrated. So I also get that too. Sometimes we say things because we're so frustrated with someone and we maybe don't necessarily mean it, but also it's you're really saying very hurtful and defamatory comments about Shannon. She's literally calling her an alcoholic. We know she got the DUI, and we know she obviously has a negative experience or relationship sometimes with alcohol, or was maybe using it to cope in ways she shouldn't. But I don't know if that necessarily means she's an alcoholic. I think there are alcoholics, and then there are people with problems with alcohol. So I feel like they can be different. I do get Tamra's point, but I do think she's coming on a little hard. So I do feel bad for that. But then all the ladies are kind of leaving, and Alexis is getting a phone call from John Jansen. And she's like, hey. And then it immediately is turning a little negative. And then people are like, oh, that doesn't sound good. And then she starts hysterically crying in the bathroom with Katie. And I'm like, what the frick is going on? And then it just doesn't sound good at all. So I guess they're talking about the whole lawsuit thing. And then it's something that Shannon responded back to. And she's like, I can't understand this at all, because John is the one that wants to sue Shannon for the money that she legally never has to pay him back. So why is John Jansen getting mad? Why is Alexis now hysterically crying in the bathroom? She lays on the bed. She's like, I'm going to throw out. I'm like so sick to my stomach. It's like, you people are bringing all of this on. I do not understand.
You are psychotic, Jesus John. You're psychotic.
I think she's psychotic, and I think John Jansen is too. So I think they are made for each other, honestly. But then when they all get back home, Tamra pops in on Emily's little construction on her townhouse. So I'm very confused. Travis moves down the street, is now paying for another place to live. Emily owns this townhouse. Or I mean, Emily. Gina. Why am I saying Emily? Jesus. Sorry. It's because Gina was claiming that Emily is up Tamra's ass. So it's only natural that I guess they would be together. But no, it is Tamra and Gina that are together. So Gina owns this townhouse. And Travis was living there helping pay the mortgage. And now he is down the street paying rent somewhere else because they can't buy a house together or a place together that's bigger and accommodating for them and share the mortgage 2 ways. But now instead she's taken over her mortgage all by herself again. And now she's totally like redoing the whole townhouse. And I'm like, what? Just use all that money towards a bigger house. I'm very confused. I'm a little confused because between the two of them, I know it's pricey out there. Like, I'm not dumb, but I can't believe between the two of them, they can't get something a little bigger than that, but still like in a budget and modest. Like, I'm not saying we're going $1 million listing and getting a $25 million house by any means, but goofy that he's now going to waste money somewhere else. She's going to totally redo this place. And then one day down the line, if they want to stay together, they're all going to have to cohabitate sometime. But then they kind of talk about Shannon being really vulnerable and La Quinta, and Gina was just like, yeah, I think she just felt comfortable and safe talking to all of us, and it's really like taking a toll on her. And then Tamra said, did she drink in La Quinta? And Gina was like, yeah. And, you know, I didn't stop drinking right after my DUI, but then I eventually did because I had it. And then Tamra's like, well, you didn't have a drinking problem. And Gina's like, yeah, I did. I had a drinking problem, but I wasn't an alcoholic, which I believe. So Gina was starting to feel like she maybe was out of control with the alcohol, and she was going through a divorce, and then dealing with the DUI was a lot for her. But she just woke up one day and was like, I don't want to drink. It's like Kyle Richards. Like, she stopped drinking because she said if she did have some wine the next day, she would feel like crap. But like, that doesn't mean Kyle was an alcoholic. She just didn't want to drink alcohol anymore, and she found her life was being negative with alcohol. It doesn't always mean you're rolling out of bed drinking all day every single day. And obviously Shannon doesn't do that because she wouldn't be on TV. She wouldn't be going anywhere. Like, alcoholics, I feel like, kind of have no life. They have no job. They literally can't function because they're just drinking all day. So I think Shannon just was in a dark place at the time with John Jansen. I mean, he was drinking a lot too. Like, apparently on all those Blackmail videos, which we'll get into in a minute, that he is holding over her head, he was drunk too. So it's like, how dare you make it seem like she's like the bad influence on you? You're a grown-ass adult. You decided to get drunk all the time with her as well. They just were like a yin and a yang, not good for each other, honestly. But Katie is going to the cutesy little candy store. So this is when we get into the alleged destroying of the life videos that John Jansen has. So Katie and Emily are having their sons there socialize. And I swear this is a candy store. Correct me if I'm wrong, because I used to love to watch Giada on the Food Network. Swear she used to go to this little candy store and buy her cute little treats when she'd do like desserts or like the Halloween special. But maybe I'm wrong. I don't even know if Giada lived in Orange County. I feel like she did, and I feel like she went in this candy store. But super cute. So Katie told Emily that apparently, since Shannon doesn't want to just, totally cooperate with the stupid lawsuit, and who knows what Alexis was crying about what Shannon did. She probably just like countersued and said like, no, I don't need to pay you back. It's like, okay, boo-hoo. She said that the gloves are off now and John would release this ring camera footage that could destroy Shannon's life. And then Emily's like, well, what's on it? And she said, apparently it's Shannon almost running over John Jansen's daughter. Now, apparently John Jansen's kids didn't like Shannon. So why would they be at John Jansen's house when he's drunk, when he's arguing with Shannon, and she has decided to drive over and argue with him in person? Why would you be there? And then if Shannon is then getting in her car to speed away drunk, why would you be in front of her car? Because I'm assuming they're referring to the night of the DUI. Like, unless this is a totally different ring camera footage of another scary, awful night, I'm pretty sure they're referring to that night, because the episode before Tamra said it's the night of the DUI. So I'm thinking it's just her saying really mean stuff on the ring camera or whatever. Like, they're actually acting like, because they're like, it will just ruin her reputation and her life and her like character around the community and whatever. And it's like, what, did she murder someone and drag the body out and put it in the trunk with Archie? Like, what, did Archie dispose of like the shovel and the gloves of the everything? Like, I don't understand. It's just crazy. But then we have Jen and Ryan go get petties together. And every time he is on the camera, my husband is like, he is shady and I think he's a scumbag. And then it was really funny because we got the mid-season trailer today and Eddie was like, Ryan's a scumbag. And I was like, oh, look, good old Eddie is backing you up with your words, Mike. It's going to come out later about like all the FBI stuff and all, and they're calling him a bookie and all that. So my husband will be on the edge of his seat in excitement for that episode, even though he won't admit it. But then Tamra is FaceTiming Jen because Tamra and Shannon are going to go meet each other for lunch. So Tamra FaceTimes Jen and she's like, what are you doing? And Jen is actually in the middle of her confessional. So they shoot like a picture of their house and then they just do like a green screen in a studio when they film their confessions. And she was like, oh, I'm in my living room. Can't you see? And it's her against the green screen, which is funny. And then the camera kind of pans that. And Tamara's like kind of leaning her cell phone over to be like, look, I'm ruining the magic a little bit. I love when they break the fourth wall because it's like, we know you're on TV. So, and you go and watch What Happens Live and say, oh, the TV show I'm on. So it's like, we know you're on TV. So I don't really mind if you, like, I don't want you talking to the camera when you're talking like to people. But I like when they do funny stuff like that. So that was funny. But then Tamara's like, I'm on my way to lunch per your like, suggestion. And then Shannon FaceTimes Heather real quick and she's like, I'm on my way to lunch. Wish me luck. So they sit down and Tamara right off the bat said to Shannon, so I was actually hoping that you would be the one to call me to meet up for the lunch. And then Shannon was like, oh, I don't know why you would think that after you've been defaming me and like ruining my life kind of in the past couple weeks we've been filming, I feel like she wanted to say. And then Tamara's like, well, I really don't think that. And then Shannon's like, well, Tamara. And then Tamara kind of does like a smart ass little face and smirk. And she's like, oh, well, Shannon. Meh. And like kind of like smirks her face. And Shannon's like, oh, okay. And then she's like, well, I'm just showing you what you look like right now. And then Tamara says, do you drink anymore? And Shannon says, I don't have more than 2 drinks. And she's like, so you don't think you have a drinking problem? And she said she thinks she was using alcohol to cope in dark situations, which I do agree. And she was in a toxic relationship, obviously. Her and John Jansen should have parted ways long ago. So that makes, the dark situation. But she said that she does not have a drinking problem and it does not affect her everyday life all the time. And if it did, obviously she would not drink. And then Shannon said, you've done compromising things. And Tamra said, well, I've never driven into a house. And I was like, oh, shit. And then Shannon's like, I have to exit the table for a minute. And then Tamra's like, where's she going? Is she coming back? And then they're like, oh, we don't know. She needs her purse. And then Tamra's like, what, is she getting a drink? Because my husband was like, oh my God, do you think like Shannon's going to order a drink? I was like, hell no. She's obviously going to have like a freaking sparkling water in front of Tamra. But then he's like, what if Tamra ordered like a martini? That'd be mean. I was like, that would be. And then in Shannon's confessional, she said, you know, Tamra just kicks you while you're down. She goes right for the jugular, and she's lucky that I don't stoop to her level. And it is like kind of true. I do understand. Like, I feel like there could be negative things they could say to Tamra. Like Vicky was on Teresa's podcast a little while ago, like when she first launched hers. And she was saying she is no longer friends with Tamra at all anymore. And she's like, you know, there are things that people could point out that aren't perfect about Tamra. Like, why doesn't she see and talk to her daughter? But people don't want to go there with her because they're scared of her, which I could see too. Like if the person that kind of like raises her voice and flips out the most on your show, you maybe don't want to, as Lala would say, go toes with them. I get it. But yeah, Shannon probably could go down and hit that right below the belt comment and say, oh, well, when was the last time you talked to Sydney? That would be really bitchy to say. That would be a really bitchy comment, and that would really hurt Tamra's feelings. So in some point, I have to give Shannon, you know, kudos for not hitting below the belt just because someone else is. Some people do. Honestly, I feel like if I was on these shows, if someone was really coming at me and hitting me, I probably would just go right for the jugular because I'd be like, you're going to mess with me. I'll mess with you right back, just as bad or worse. So don't poke the bear, as the old saying goes. But then Shannon comes back and they're having a more civil conversation, which is nice. And she is just filling Tamra in the whole John Jansen suing her for $75,000. And she's like, you know, I offered him a settlement, which I don't even want to do. And she didn't even have to do. And she's like, I just like want this to go away. And he responded with, he's expecting nothing under $75,000. And she's like, I don't know why he's doing this to me. I never signed a promissory note. So now I suppose that I'll just have to go to court, spend all this money. And she's like, it's just a lot. And then Tamra in the confessional says, you know, back in the day, Jim Bellino sued Alexis, sued Shannon and I for defamation, and we had to pay him a lot of money, and we trauma bonded over that. And at one point I was like, am I ever going to like recover from this big hit? I mean, one of them had to give him, I think Shannon had to give him $300,000 and Tamra had to give him $500,000. I mean, they did straight up go on a podcast, straight up say his name, say very bad things about his business and stuff. So that is defamation. And he had to prove, though, in court that he was like losing business because of it. So that money they gave him was for compensation and damages of business he was proving that he was losing because of their comments, which is like wild. That's why it's just so wild to me that Alexis was kind of on the cease and desist for Tamra and Shannon. So even though at the end of the day it was brought on by Jim Bellino, she was still kind of listed as like a beneficiary to this all happening and was on the cease and desist. Probably like, don't talk to her, don't communicate with her, anything. So now she pops back on the show years later and Tamra's best friends with her. And it's like, she was involved a little bit, even though they were on the beginning of their divorce at the moment. Like, who knows? What if they like connived and he gave her some of that money? I mean, that is so much money. That's $800,000 that they jointly gave him. And I mean, you're going to tell me she didn't get any of it or benefit? He has to give her spousal support and child support. So that probably comes from the 800, but it's just crazy. I liked that they ended their lunch on a positive note though. And Tamra said that she does love Shannon, and they were hugging it out, and she's like, I do love you, and I'm just like, I was like frustrated, and I'm sorry, and she's like, I'm having a party next week, and I want you and Vicky to come over, which is just like wild, seeing her invite them, and then at the current place where they are now, Vicky has her own issues now with Tamra and doesn't want to be friends with her. And Shannon, I don't think, is friends with her now. So we have to see how the rest of the season plays out. But at least for this moment, they were fine at the end, which is good because sometimes it is like tough love. When you love someone so much, sometimes we get frustrated the most with people we love because we know they can do better sometimes. I think Tamra knows Shannon could be doing better. Like maybe it would have been better if Shannon just totally called it quits with alcohol, like period. Or maybe if she did like a long cleanse, but she honestly looks great. I know it's part due to the facelift that John Jansen bought her, but at least it was worth the $75,000. But I mean, I don't think the facelift was $75,000. I mean, it very well could be out there. I don't know. But I feel like some of it was the facelift and then someone was alone, she said. But that's the only thing I could see him getting back. But again, he would have had to have her sign something saying, I'm loaning you, let's say it was $20,000 out of the $75,000. I'm loaning you $20,000. You have X amount of time to pay me back, or this is like the schedule, what is it, amortization schedule to pay me back with interest, if you please. Like, and then get a notary to notarize it, and then that shit's official. Not just like a year later you're going to cry and whine about it with your new annoying girlfriend. Alexis better not have John Jansen pay for nothing for her. But then when we get the mid-season trailer, so we got it today, they're going to go on a full cast trip to London, and she texts Shannon. So it's Shannon's like trip. She texts Alexis and goes, hi, Alexis, we are all going on a group trip to London, and I do not want to invite you. So funny. Like, but it's like, yeah, you're not on the cast. I don't want you on the trip. And like, Shannon's probably like, F you. If this is my trip and I'm picking it / maybe paying for some of it, I don't want you there. It's like, that was so funny though. And then we're going to get more into the Jen and Ryan stuff. Tamra and Eddie are going to like meet up with them. And then Tamra like flips out on him. And then that's when Eddie's like, he's a scumbag. And they call him a bookie. And I can't wait to hear all that shit. So Emily was like, oh, he could go to jail, which she would know because she is a lawyer. But very interesting. I can't wait to hear more details about that. But then on the next episode, I think we're going to get Vicky. And we're going to get Teddy Mellencamp. So she's like hosting some game, I feel like, for them. And she's like, hello, housewives and Vicky. They hate each other so much. So that also has to cause some of the falling out, I feel, between Tamra and Vicky, because Tamra hosts 2 Teas in a Pod with Teddy, and they've grown really close and they like each other. And it's really difficult. I know everyone's an adult and everyone can have their opinion, but if you're best friends with someone and they are friends with someone that trashes you or just does not like you and you just do not like them, it's really comes between your friendship, sadly, with the other person. So Tamara's kind of caught in the middle between the Vicky and Teddy feud, I feel like, secretly. And it's just hard. It has to be hard because I feel like Vicky probably like wants to always shit on Teddy when she's in Tamara's presence, and Tamara's probably like, la 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 la, I'm not listening. And Vicky just does not like how Tamra is treating Shannon this season. Remember on that dinner, she's like, we are women. We are all Christian women and we love God. And this is yucky. We do not do this to people. But then it's like, she's ready to come on the show and like shit on people. It's so funny. But I do love Vicky, always and forever. OJ. I mean, like her Nene, like old version of Teresa, because I'm not liking the dark, depressing Teresa. I mean, those are like OGs. These are even like Lisa Vanderpump from back in the day. I mean, they just don't make them like these people anymore sometimes. So we got to keep some of the OGs around. So then to just touch on the 2 Teas in the Pod a little more. So I listened to the Snooki podcast. That was good. And then I listened to the 2-parter. So I listened to Melissa Gorga's podcast. She had Teddy and Tamra on. And then they finished it on 2 Teas in a Pod, and Melissa was on theirs. And they got into kind of like, you know, like who would you want to see back on the show? Who do you think will be back on the show? Melissa had very diplomatic answers, very good, very like politician, like not giving too much away. She said, which I already noticed from back in the day, she said Jim Leonard, the weird attorney next to the meth clinic, used to be her lawyer, which I do remember because when he used to be on super back in the day, it would say under it like the Gorga's attorney. And I'm like, oh, okay, that's weird. So then when everything happened to Joe and Teresa, he asked Melissa, do you mind if I represent Teresa in her criminal case? Because she's been reaching out to me. And Melissa's like, no, I actually find that to be a conflict of interest. And you're actually like an entertainment lawyer. So why do you even want to take on a criminal case? And why, riddle me, would Teresa want a entertainment lawyer that is used by her sister-in-law, who she doesn't even like, who she always accused of copying off of her, representing you in a serious criminal case where you are potentially going to jail and your husband potentially going to jail and being deported? You want to use some loony entertainment lawyer? So weird. That's been on TV. Maybe no wonder they got the sentence they did. I mean, go get a criminal defense lawyer, like the best one. So goofy. And yeah, she just said, you know, before Louis came on the show, the relationship was a little rough with Teresa, but then kind of nail in the coffin with him. And she said the whole wedding stuff, she said, I would just look like an idiot if I was willing to get past all this stuff, like, because I just keep coming back for more, kind of, which I agree. And she said, when you call my husband over to sit him down to say, we think Melissa's cheating. And she's like, me and Joe have now been married 20 years. I've known Teresa for 20 years, 21 years probably. And Louis just got here like a year ago. You're two going to sit down with my husband and not even invite me? That's when the door is closed, which I agree. And then she said when Joe left that day after that conversation, he's like, yeah, the door is closed. I know. And it's sad, but that right there is bad. I mean, how would Teresa feel if Melissa and Joe called just her over and were like, oh, Louis cheating on you? And Louis been around for 20 years, by the way, not just a year. And it's ironic that now, you know, she was love, love, love with his sisters. And now it's no, no, no. They unfollow her on Facebook, Instagram. I mean, they got nobody but each other. That's when you're being groomed. Like, not to be dramatic and not to accuse, but I really feel like Louis is like isolating and grooming Teresa. Even when she does interviews, she like doesn't answer any questions. She's like, yeah, you know, yeah, I mean, you saw on the TV, and you know, I tell the truth. I tell the truth. I'm just open book, you know, I'm a girl's girl, you know? And it's like, no, we don't know, because I literally don't know what you're saying. But I feel like it's because she's scared to talk. I feel like Louis has like a script for her to talk, and if she goes against it, she's like punished. And I mean, Gabriella hightailed it to Michigan. Melania's about to hightail it off to Tampa. Gia did move back home and lives there, but maybe she's like in and out, and maybe she's getting her own place. And then only Adriana is the one that we could have a full sit-down 60 minutes interview with to be like, is Louis really a creep? Yes or no? Blink twice if you're in danger. I mean, it's just weird. And then after all that weird comments on that podcast about them wearing thongs and short skirts, it's now since been deleted, by the way. So if you go to listen to that part of the podcast, you can't listen to it anymore. And Joe Gorga's like, because we're all like, hey, Joe Gorga, Joe Giudice, where are you at? Juicy Joe, like, hey, forget about it, Trey. Where are you at? I even tagged him in a post. I got like 2,000 likes. Like, what does Joe Giudice think about this? He has now come out and been like, oh, Louis is a great guy. You know, it's just taken out of context. You know, what are you going to do? What are you going to do about it? Well, I know what we're going to do about it. Think he's a freaking weirdo. And you should too, because those are your daughters, not him. I mean, even if their own father would be like, oh yeah, go out and wear thongs and stuff, that would be weird. But that's actually their dad. Stepdad, weird. Red flag, weird. Obviously, Tamra and Teddy could say it. Melissa couldn't. She's like, they're like, we're done with Jennifer Aiden. She's annoying. Like, we hope she's not on the show. And then Tamra dropped a little tea and said that she heard people came in her DMs and said that Danielle Cabral sister-in-law does not talk to her because she beat up the sister-in-law. Now, we saw how crazy she could get, so maybe, very well maybe, she did do that. I'd love to get the other side, though, because it takes two to tango. So maybe this is like a miniature Melissa Teresa, but like Melissa and Teresa never got handsy. That would have been wild, honestly, if they did. Remember when the Joes fought and that like little retreat, and he's like, apologize now. And then they charge at each other, and like Joe Gorga's like black powder for his hair fell off. Oh my God, could you imagine if that would have been Melissa and Teresa? I would pay money for that, honestly. That I thought we were going to see that at the ending scene when they were like posing off, and she's like, horror. So then Melissa said they cut this off too. So like, you know how we just saw them posing, which was like weird. Like it was funny, but I was like, I can't believe they're just standing there posing in silence. So Melissa said they cut out the part where she went, oh, are you just mad that I'm still here? They should have left that in. It's freaking 10 seconds, and it makes more sense that she said that, and then she's posing. She's like, you're just bothered that I'm here. Meaning like Teresa probably thought, oh, I could get her fired whenever I want to. And she thought last year, like on the reunion, like Teresa was so gung-ho when she was like, I'll never have to see you again after today. And Melissa's like, why? Where are you going? It's like, because why do you think that just because you tell Bravo or you are showing us on TV that you don't like Joe and Melissa, that what, Bravo's going to be like, oh, okay, Teresa, whatever you say, we'll fire them. It's like they do have fans. And Andy and production do like them because I feel like they're easier to work with, honestly. And Melissa said, for all the people that are always like, oh my God, stop trying to make your family happen. Stop trying to make fetch happen. She said the producers actually tell her to film with her family because they're funny and they are enjoyable to see. And I don't think we get overkill of them. It's the right amount. And you know what? I want to see it. I don't mind because they have fun together. It's just like, if Melissa and Teresa and Joe could have fun together, I would like to see that too. I want to see them have fun, honestly. I know some people are like, no, you don't. You like drama. And it's like, no, I like the petty, goofy drama. Like, not this. Not like I liked back in the day when Margaret's like, oh, your lip liner looks like a monkey's asshole. Like her and Jen, that was funny because that's petty and stupid. And her lip liner was too harsh. It did look like a monkey's asshole. And then she's like, yeah, that you like to suck. And it's like, what? Margaret likes to suck monkeys' assholes? Like, I don't get that. But like, that's what I mean. That was stupid. That was like stupid petty drama. I'm about the stupid petty drama, honestly. Or easy, like fixable drama that could make interesting that we all go through. I know we all, it's not all rainbows and butterflies, but it's like melted popsicles and depression on the Real Housewives of New Jersey, honestly. So we need to get back to lighter times, but I think Orange County is getting really good. Loved the mid-season trailer. And can't wait to see. I think we're going to get an actual physical appearance from John Jansen. I know. It's going to be scary. It's going to be really scary. His lawyer's probably like, why are you going in the same place as Shannon, you idiot? You're suing her. I hate him, and I hope she doesn't have to give him $1, and I hope he has to pay for all her attorney fees just for causing all this commotion, to be honest.
As always, this was so fun, and you could find me on Instagram at Bravo T with the Stay at Home Mom, Spotify and Apple. Till next time, see ya.